And I found that at first, I would want to have television on all the time, or radio, and lots of magazines and newspapers. So I became information junkie, which was just filling up spaces rather than sitting with myself and getting comfortable with whatever came up. And now, though I will still run away on occasions, I'm much better able to do that. And there are times when I really quite enjoy my own company.
But when Gabriel kept company with Rosanna Arquette, he ironically found himself exposed to the high-profile lifestyle he had always wanted to avoid.
I think all the sort of, the Hollywood or the entertainment business, showy side of things. I mean, I can enjoy, sometimes now I know quite a few people, but it's a fun place to visit. It's not somewhere I'd like to live. I think that's how I feel about it. Because, there is a lot of hypocrisy going on there, and everyone's on the make one way or another, and providing people are straight about that, then I have no trouble with it. But I think it's when the boundaries get confused. But I enjoy that, and in fact, when my kids now being teenagers, they love being able to go backstage or premieres and all the sort of the glitter end of it, and so and I found that I can enjoy it through them, and so that's been fun.
Where Peter Gabriel is the most at home is his native England, where he still resides outside of Bath. The musician believes he embodies the influences of British culture, which he feels set him and his fellow countrymen apart from artists of other nations.
I think one of the reasons that England has had such a lot of interesting stuff going on in the arts, and particularly in rock music. I think per head of population, we have many more musicians that have reached people, a worldwide audience, than any other country. And I think that is in part a response to this sort of oppression, this reserve in the way that people are brought up, that it is a bit of a straitjacket that people want to punch through and burst out of. So I think that has been a fuel for the sort of English angst, which is not a healthy one, I don't think. And that's part of the reason that I'm pleased my daughter's studying over here now, is that I think that freedom of expressing yourself is an advantage for an English person.
As the frontman for the art rock band Genesis, Peter Gabriel paved the way for theatrical flair in rock music. His use of expressive masks and costumes carried over to his early solo work. But in person, Gabriel is low-key and earnest, quite a contradiction to his fans and critics.
There are definitely two sides to my personality. The introvert, more sort of thinking person, which is more my father's side, and then more of the performer, the extrovert, which is more, I think, my mother's side. And definitely on stage I have the opportunity to put the performance side out there. And the masks, which I actually used to enjoy in most other cultures, are seen as devices for getting what is inside out. Whereas in the West, we tend to look at masks as something to hide behind. And I see it much more in the first way, that it was partly a device for me to get things out. There was also just a practical function in that they were gimmicks, if you like, that made us look different. When I breathe, you throw your arms before the swine, make the monkey blind, cover me, darling, please. Singing, I think I've enjoyed since I was little. I was actually at a choir school, I think, which I then avoided when I got to the senior school. But there was a lot of music going on around the house, and it wasn't really till I was 16 or something like that that I actually thought that there was a chance that I could sing, because I was much more interested in drums, and that's where I started. I wasn't God's gift to rhythm, but somehow balanced that out with enthusiasm. And it was the writing really that got me into singing. I mean, there's still people who can actually do a lot more with their voice than I can, but I think what I like is to be able to get into the feelings and the melodies. And in fact, there are some singers that are, for me, favorites and most expressive, who aren't good technically, you know, who just sort of, say, like Randy Newman or Tom Waits or someone like this, in terms of singing teacher's guide, I think wouldn't score especially highly, but they actually have enormous feeling and expression, and actually do the job, I think, really well.
Got to walk out of here. I can't take anymore. Gonna stand on that bridge, keep my eyes down below.
You know, words arrive in different ways. Sometimes it's from something I've read in the paper, seen on television, dreams, material, and I do carry a sort of notebook around, and that tends to have ideas which evolve at a separate pace to the music. And sometimes early on, you know, they'll marry up and live together happily ever after, and other times they split up and end up in different directions. But for me, the words require more effort than the music, in the sense that I think to get them to a standard where I feel comfortable with them and that they seem to be saying whatever I want to say is harder work than with the music for me, I think, which it's relatively easy to get different, to get past my censor, my editor, if you like.
Gabriel considers his latest release, Us, to be his first official compilation of love songs. He commissioned 14 different artists to interpret the songs on the album, all of which have special significance to him.
I started off with about 23 different ideas. Not all were finished songs. And about halfway through, I realized that the focus seemed to be on the personal stuff. So I left off a couple of other songs which sort of didn't really feel they fitted in so much. And that had obviously been a main sort of preoccupation with me after sort of divorce and then the breakup of another relationship. And that was a sort of a central issue for me. And then I did this group therapy for a while, which really opened me up in lots of ways. And I think, so it was part of that process in a way for me to look at some of that stuff and unload it.
Something in me, dark and sticky, all the time it's getting strong. The way you're dealing with this feeling can't go on like this too long.
Many critics say the single Diggin' in the Dirt bears uncanny resemblance to Gabriel's life. So how much does art imitate life?
It actually didn't start off as sort of autobiographical. It was, there was a whole other project that I was looking at about people on death row, and I began reading up some of the stuff, and I'd done a bit of work through the Amnesty connections, and so that actually started in that vein, and then I realized that as I was looking into the sort of history and motivation of why people kill, that maybe some of my interest was my own aggression, and there was part of that I hadn't really grabbed hold of and owned. So I think I was doing that in that song, which is sort of identifying the bastard.
Waiting your time, dreaming of a better life. Waiting your time, you're more than just a wife. Don't have to do what your mother has done, she has done. This is your life, this new life has begun. It's your day, Woman's Day. It's your day, Woman's Day.
In the early 80s, Peter Gabriel's interest in non-Western music grew. With the help of some talented friends, he organized the first annual World Music Arts and Dance Festivals. Gabriel's reputation for gathering musicians from other nations makes him a true world-class musician.
I've had a wonderful experience just working with musicians from other countries, and I think it's definitely changed me, you know. And now I've a place in Senegal that I go to when I can, and I become someone different. I think I relax in a way, and I relate to other people and other musicians in a much freer and easier way. And we have this fantastic week at the studio where we get some of the real world artists, well-made artists that are doing the festival circuit, and a lot of invited guests. And we create quite a few rooms. There's sort of 4 or 5 rooms in the studio, but we end up with about a dozen rooms. People bring recording gear, set it up on the lawns in bedrooms, and it sort of runs 24 hours a day with a cafe there, and people getting together with anyone that interests them, really, and making music. And that definitely is one of the most exciting things that happens for me, and we're now making it an annual thing. And I think it's changed the way that I relate to people, and it's very inspiring, I think, for everyone who takes part in it. So that has definitely had a big influence.
For all those still in jail in South Africa. For all those still being tortured. For all prisoners of conscience.
Most recently, Peter Gabriel extends his pursuits for global harmony to implementing the Witness Program, a cooperative venture sponsored by Reebok.
With some of the human rights groups that we've been working with over the years, it seemed that there was a need to try and get footage of some of the abuses and atrocities recorded and then aired, because what was very clear after the Rodney King affair is that a chance video recording can have an enormous impact. How it's used is obviously very important, but we felt that it was really necessary to try and get a lot of Video 8 cameras out to the activists around the world so that they could themselves, ideally with as little risk as possible, although it obviously puts them in danger, record some of what was going on, and we would try and endeavor to get it broadcast.
Away from the political front, Gabriel consumes his time planning a theme park in Barcelona, aptly named Real World. He joins forces with fellow artists Brian Eno and Laurie Anderson.
The intention of the Power Project really was, and in a sense, it's not solely confined to the park. I think that there are going to be many more forms of art, if you like, and entertainment that are interactive, where people get much more involved, where they become the artist, where they decide the work of other artists and start playing around with it and getting creative with it. And a lot of people now are beginning to work in this area, and I think it's partly as a result of the technological innovations the computer industry has provided us with, and some of the space research, and there are all these offshoots which are now coming into this big lump, which is a merger between communications, entertainment, computer industry, and education. I mean, we just wanted to put together people doing interesting work in these areas and try and bring them involved, bring them into that area and just thinking through things. So we have these wonderful evenings where we sit around with some food and wine and just dream and concoct imaginary situations. But we now have sort of stuck that together with some experts in the leisure industry. You know, there's this whole other science of sort of I think much of my work is in the form of journeys, whether it's even within songs or within my life. I think I want to see myself really being challenged in a way that keeps me alive, awake, and open to different influences and different people, because I think you choose the situations that you end up in, and they can either be sort of challenging and teach you a lot. I mean, and it, I think, goes back to this word that I liked a lot in Chinese, which is has danger and opportunity. I mean, both meanings apply to the same word, and so I think it's often when you put yourself at risk, or most at risk, that you have the most opportunity to learn. And that's the dangerous thing about a culture focused on success, because very often you actually learn more information from failing than you do from succeeding. And I think it's very important in my journey and in other people's that they allow themselves to fail and see that as a healthy road as well as succeeding.
Digging in the dirt, find the places we got hurt. Digging in the dirt, find the places we got hurt.